Hello, Juan the Builder here. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the top 6 things that I consider when buying a plot in Zambia. Now, I don't know about you, but to me, the Zambian dream has always been owning a 30 by 40 plot somewhere with a Hilux outside, and a house that you can actually call your home. So, I don't know how to get a Hilux, but I can at least share my experiences with regards to buying plots and looking at plots and things like that. Buying a plot is one of the first things that you should actually consider before you're even thinking about digging the foundation and the like. And it actually goes without saying that you should own the land where you're going to invest and build. I know it sounds silly for some people, but it's very important that you own the land where you're actually going to invest your money and spend all that time, building the house and the like. I remember when I bought my first plot, I felt so, so smart, smarter than everyone, my friends, you know. It felt good, landlord vibes, those type of things. And then, one day I was walking to work, and then my friend passed me in his car, you know. And then I was like, I can't drive my plot to work, it was quite a realization to me. I was like, I can't drive a plot. So buying land is important, but of course the timing is, I think, more important, because when you buy land or when you buy a plot and you actually own that property, it triggers something in your mind, you know, the same thing, like feeling like a landlord, you even start converting things into pockets of cement equivalent, you can be buying groceries and then you're thinking, this could have been a bag of cement, this is 5 blocks, those type of things. So it's also important for you to buy a plot so that you have that in mind every time that you actually need to move forward after buying the plot, which is actually building and things like that. So let's get into the top 6 things. The first thing that I usually think about is the intended purpose. What is the intended purpose for this plot that I want to buy? So when buying land or buying a plot, you need to think in the future. I'm not saying like next year or 2 years. You need to think like 10 years, 20 years. What would be the situation in 10 to 20 years? My life and also the area where I'm buying from. So you need to have a future mindset and think ahead. So you need to bear in mind that you can't move land to another place. Once you buy land, it's right there. It's not like a car which you can move. The land will be there. So you have to think about the future. There have been situations, for example, there's one couple I know, they had the kids in college. So they decided to build a 5 bedroom house while the kids were in college because they wanted the kids to be able to come and stay and the like. But as soon as they graduated, the kids started to move out because they wanted their freedom from their parents. So now these guys took like 5 years to build this 5 bedroom, beautiful 5 bedroom house. But now the kids are gone, and now it's just 2 people in this beautiful 5 bedroom house. You really need to think about the future and the type of lifestyle that you. When it comes to purpose, you also need to decide what type of investment you're trying to make. Are you getting into this as a real estate investor? Like, are you doing this to build houses for rent, or you're getting into this just to build your house, which you're going to be living in, or maybe you retire in, and things like that. So that also determines the the type of plot you buy. So think long term, think also purpose. Or am I doing this for investment as real estate investments, rent as a business, or this is a house which I'm going to be staying, maybe I'm building for my kids, those type of things. So tip number 2 of the things that I consider when buying a plot is location. Now, when it comes to location, it usually plays a big influence also on the price and the like. So it seems the further you are away from development, the cheaper the property will be. But sometimes a cheap property might have some hidden costs, like such as maybe connection fees to electricity and things like that. Then the closer you are to development, like if you're in the plot is in a neighborhood which has a lot of maybe properties, lots of houses already, you're going to pay way more for that, of course. I mean, it's nice to dream to live in, like, say, maybe Kablonga or Ibex, but you should be willing to pay more for those areas. So next is think about 10 to 20 years. Okay. So in that location, is it, what will it look like in 10 to 20 years? Do you think it will be developed or it will still be a bush? You know, is the area still going to be a good place for the type of investment that you want to do? So, as I said earlier about thinking 10 to 20 years ahead, you have to imagine your lifestyle and what type of investment you're actually going to do. Because you can't say buy a plot because it's close to work. What if 5 years from now you no longer work there? So you have to think about your future and things like that. So also, when it comes to location, you need to think about the developments that are nearby. For example, is there a stadium nearby? Or is there a university? Is there a bar nearby? Is there a church nearby? These things actually influence the quality of living also, and also the type of investment that you might do. Because if you're in real estate investing and you want to build something to earn you money, if you're near university, automatically providing student accommodation might be something beneficial for you. So if there's no university in sight, lots of houses around, you're probably not going to think about making a boarding house or things like that. Another thing that you must check when it comes to location is that you must see the place. Of course, there are situations where you can't go and see the plot because maybe you're out of the country or something, but you can always send someone. On a plan, when people are selling you plots, on a plan, everything is flat because it comes from the top. So it's very important for you to go and visit the plot, because when you go to the location, you're going to see whether there are stones, there are rocks on the plot. Is it a swampy area? And there might be some things which the person who's selling you doesn't know or can't even be said, like a bad neighbor. You know, those are things that matter. So you need to also see the plot if you're able to. So location, see the plot, check what developments are nearby. Imagine your daily life 20 to 10 to 20 years ahead. Will the area be developed? And be willing to pay more to be in a developed area, or pay less to be a bit further. So the third factor that I consider when buying a plot is actually the plot size. Now, the plot size also determines what type of things you're going to build there. So obviously, the bigger the plot is, the more you can build. But there are ways of maximizing a small space. So think about what you're trying to build and try to imagine it fitting on the plot, you know, because there are other things that might come along with it. Like, for example, maybe you need to build a septic tank and things like that, a borehole. You really need to think about the size of the plot and what you can fit inside. There's a way of obviously maximizing space, like building, I'm a Nigerian multi-story building. You can also make maybe rooms smaller and things like that. But think about what you're trying to build. Do you want a swimming pool in your yard? You can't fit that maybe on a 10 by 15. It's a bit difficult, but Come on, let's get a bigger plot if you're thinking of doing such things. So plot size matters. So you need to think about what you're trying to build and also the plot size. Do the two things marry? Fourth on my list is the terms and conditions of the sale. So some developers might provide utilities like, say, water and electricity right at your property. These are things that you actually have to check. Unfortunately, a lot of developers do not provide this service in Zambia, so you actually have to think about these things as you are purchasing, because sometimes the cost of actually bringing these services closer to your property might be quite high. Majority of developers will just tell you we're providing all access roads as though they're doing you a favor. But I mean, a road is basic. For me to get to my plot, I need a road. So those are things that like it should be a minimum standard. Like provide a road, obviously, but put some extra things so that I buy from you. So another thing you need to think about is the house plans. For example, if the developer has specific house plans which are approved for that area, some developers would like to have a certain standard, maintain a certain standard when it comes to the houses in that area. And it actually looks good when the houses are pretty much standard. So you have to see if this conflicts with your Zambian dream, the type of house that you want. So if it's acceptable, then you might go ahead, obviously. If you like their plans, you go ahead. But if they say you can't, build the plan that you want and the like, you might want to probably reconsider or maybe change your expectations and the like. So terms of conditions itself are very important. So make sure you are agreeable to what the terms and conditions are from the seller. Fifth on my list is price and financial capacity. So in Zambia, there are many people who are selling plots, selling land and the like. You need to decide that there's so many types to choose from. Actually, some plots are even the price of a house. So you need to decide what type of property you want in terms of the price range versus your financial capacity. When I say financial capacity, I mean you could probably buy any plot that you like, but it really depends how much money you have and also the terms of the payment. So if you have some money saved up, you're most likely able to kind of negotiate a small discount from the seller because money now is usually better than money later. Even if you can make maybe a small down payment, that could maybe give you some leverage to negotiate the price and the like. If you can't make a payment, you can always maybe pay slow. So some developers will give you a long payment period or a short payment period, but at least it allows you to manage your finances. Because when you're buying your plot, you need to think about how it will affect your finances. Will you stop eating after buying the plot? Will you be eating import the rest of the year? Or maybe you have enough cash that you can even buy two plots at once. It depends. So obviously you need to measure your financial capacity, as they say, your financial muscle and the plot that you actually want. Um, I wouldn't encourage getting a loan because, sometimes people resort to just getting a loan and then paying the loan off slowly. But in your building journey, you're just starting and you're buying a plot. And if you're buying the plot using a loan, it might kind of delay your progress in terms of construction if it's not managed well. Of course, you could get a loan for building and the like, but it matters on how you actually do it. We can discuss that obviously in another video. So check the price and also check your financial capacity. Try and find favorable terms which won't really affect your lifestyle too much. Of course, it requires some sacrifice, but make sure it's not something that makes you too miserable when it comes to buying. Because what you realize is after you finish paying for the plot, you go there to the plot, you see it, it's still the same, nothing has changed. So it's like you throw money, you know, on the ground, but it's yours. You're happy, it's yours. So think about your financial capacity and also try to, make it marry with the plot price and see what works best. The last thing that I consider when buying a plot is quite simple, but actually could be the most important of all: proof of ownership. So when you're buying a plot, please, 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 now, papa, da, please buy from the owner or an officially appointed agent for the owner. Like, you should be able to see either a title deed or paperwork that at least shows a logical step in terms of ownership. Like, it should be you should be able to see that this plot is actually owned by this person. And then after you determine that this plot is owned by this person, you also need to check if that person is the only owner of that property. Because there are situations, or there have been situations, like when I worked in the council, where someone sells the same plot to different people, you know. Then those two people now start fighting, trying to get this plot because, they all want the plot. It gets quite ugly, and court cases and things like that. So you need to determine the ownership. So try as much as possible to meet with the owner or the officially appointed agent. There should be paperwork which shows a proper line or proof of ownership. Because the question that you need to be asking yourself is, who does the Ministry of Lands recognize as the owner of this property on the Ministry of Lands record? Because that's the record that actually matters in the end. They're the guys who actually issue out the title deeds. So you need to know who is on the title deed, so that when you're buying, you're actually buying from the owner and there won't be any issues in terms of transaction and future issues. So there you have it. Those are my top 6 considerations when it comes to buying land. Of course, you can buy land from different places like council, real estate agents, individuals, could be strangers or even family members. You can also get land from resettlement areas and also traditional land. But that's a topic for another day, which we can discuss further in detail. Now, if you enjoyed any of this content and if you'd like to comment or give me feedback, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you prefer to read articles and things like that, you could also like our Facebook page, which is Zambia House Plans. So please like and follow, give us comments, and we'll get to interact. And also, as an afterthought, when you look at buying plots in Zambia, some people say, land is finishing. Hurry, buy a plot, the land is finishing, and the like. But I mean, technically, it is true. But when you look at Zambia, and well, let's just look at Lusaka, for example, which is the most developed. Lusaka is kind of undeveloped. Zambia is not developed to that level where we can say the land is finishing. There's new areas being developed every year. Every year, a new area is being developed, and they are selling plots, and then there are also individuals who sell plots because maybe they failed to develop or they bought it so that they could sell it, because people have different reasons for selling plots, but there's always like land available. So it's usually best to go into a land purchase when you have leverage, and that leverage is maybe when you have the money and also when you can negotiate favorable terms for yourself. So once again, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Happy building.